When we think of the American frontier and the wild days of cattle drives, we often picture rugged cowboys on horseback, herding cattle across vast plains. What we don't always realize, however, is the vital role women played in this harsh and demanding environment. Women in the West were responsible for a wide variety of tasks that kept the operations of cattle drives and ranching running smoothly, from cooking meals to managing supplies and caring for the cowboys' morale. While men handled the physical aspects of driving cattle, women like Sarah, Aunt Sally Adams were integral in supporting the daily life of these camps. In many cases, women often had to adopt roles that were unconventional for the time, combining strength and resilience with traditional domestic skills to become indispensable parts of these rugged communities. Sarah, Aunt Sally Adams, a pioneer among the cowboys. Sarah, Aunt Sally Adams' legacy remains an important part of the story of the American West. Even though detailed historical records of her life are limited, what is clear, however, is that she played a significant role in supporting the operations of cattle drives and cowboy camps. Her contributions went far beyond the stereotypical roles women were assigned during this period. As a cook and ranch hand, Aunt Sally was responsible for providing meals to cowboys during the grueling long days on the trail. Cooking for a large group of exhausted, hungry men was no small feat, especially when supplies were often scarce. But Aunt Sally knew how to make do with what she had, turning basic ingredients into filling, nutritious meals that provided the sustenance the cowboys needed to keep moving. Her ability to prepare meals that could refuel the cowboys after long hours in the saddle made her an invaluable member of the team. Her contributions didn't end at the stove, though. Aunt Sally also took on roles in managing the logistics of the cowboy camp, ensuring that everything ran smoothly. From handling the upkeep of camp supplies to managing cattle and horses, she played a crucial part in the overall functioning of the cattle drives. Her organizational skills and work ethic earned her the respect of the cowboys, who came to rely on her as much for her hard labor as for her caring nature. In an era when women's roles were often confined to domestic tasks, Aunt Sally broke boundaries by becoming an equal partner in the tough physical demands of ranching life. She became not just a cook, but a full-fledged pioneer, a symbol of resilience and resourcefulness, who proved that women could contribute to the success of cattle drives just as much as men. Cowboy camps, the heart of cattle drives. The cowboy camps during cattle drives were a world unto themselves. These camps, often located in the middle of the open plains, were a far cry from the comforts of home. The cowboys' days were long, their work grueling, and the conditions harsh. In these camps, women like Sarah Adams were essential, as they managed cooking, camp logistics, and general upkeep. A good cook was a cowboy's greatest ally. A hot meal after a day spent riding the open range could make the difference between a successful drive and a miserable one. A meal prepared by someone who understood the nutritional needs of a cowboy could rejuvenate even the most exhausted of ranch hands. Aunt Sally was a master of this, turning basic ingredients into nourishing meals that helped keep the cowboys strong and focused. Her role went beyond just food preparation. She helped ensure that the day-to-day operations of the camp were functioning smoothly, whether it was gathering firewood, mending equipment, or ensuring that horses were properly cared for. Women who defied traditional roles on the trail. The American West was a place of transformation, not only for the land, but also for the roles that individuals took on within society. While men were expected to handle the labor-intensive work of cattle herding, women found ways to defy the expectations of the time by stepping into roles that were traditionally considered masculine. Some women, like Sarah, Aunt Sally Adams, worked alongside men in the ranching industry, doing much more than just cooking and maintaining homes. These women played crucial roles in managing the cattle, assisting with the physical labor, and even managing the finances of ranching operations. Women who joined cattle drives would take on tasks like herding cattle when needed, guiding livestock through rough terrain, or even helping drive the herd when cowboys became ill or injured. These women had a deep understanding of the land, the animals, and the complexities of ranch life. While Aunt Sally may not have been directly involved in cattle herding, she ensured that the cowboys remained well-fed and strong enough to do their job. She managed the logistics of camp life, provided counsel to the cowboys, and helped handle the strain of long days on the trail. These women provided an emotional support network that was essential for maintaining morale in the face of hardship. Their presence on the trail signified a break from traditional gender roles and demonstrated the adaptability, strength, and resourcefulness of women during this critical period in history. Living and working in the harsh conditions of the frontier, life on a cattle drive was anything but easy, and the men who worked on these drives were faced with challenges that tested their physical endurance. But it wasn't only the cowboys who had to battle the elements. The women on these drives, such as Sarah, Aunt Sally Adams, had to endure the same grueling conditions. From the scorching heat of summer days to freezing cold nights, the women had to be prepared for anything. The logistical demands of maintaining a camp, preparing meals, and ensuring that cattle were properly tended added another layer of complexity to life on the frontier. For women like Aunt Sally, the physical hardships of the trail were only part of the struggle. She also had to contend with the isolation of being so far from home, the unpredictable weather, and the dangers that came with living in such a harsh environment. Whether it was gathering firewood to cook meals over a campfire or making sure the cattle were fed, women often worked from sunrise to sunset. In addition to these responsibilities, they also acted as caregivers, treating injuries and illnesses that arose on the trail. The unpredictability of frontier life meant they had to be resourceful, finding creative ways to stretch food supplies and repurpose scarce materials. Even with the constant demands of camp life, they also provided emotional support to weary cowboys, fostering a sense of community among the rough and rugged men. But beyond the physical challenges, Aunt Sally had to use her keen organizational skills to manage the camp. She ensured that resources like water and food were carefully rationed, and that the cowboys had everything they needed to get through the day. Even when facing unpredictable weather or physical exhaustion, women like Aunt Sally brought an invaluable sense of order and stability to the cowboy camps. Their ability to endure the harsh conditions and keep the operation running smoothly played a pivotal role in the success of cattle drives across the American West. Without their tireless efforts, the long and arduous cattle drives that defined the era would have been significantly more difficult to sustain. Sarah Aunt Sally Adams' enduring legacy. Though there may be little known about the specific details of Sarah Aunt Sally Adams' life, the impact of her contributions to the cowboy camps and cattle drives cannot be overstated. Her legacy speaks to the often underappreciated role women played in the history of the American West. While the cowboys may have received the glory for driving the herds, it was women like Aunt Sally who ensured that the operations could continue smoothly. She was one of many women who made significant contributions, not just to the cattle industry, but to the very spirit of the West. They defied expectations, performed critical labor, and helped build the foundation of what would become a legendary part of American history. Many of these women had to possess a remarkable sense of resilience and adaptability, as they were often faced with unexpected hardships such as food shortages, medical emergencies, or even hostile encounters. Despite the challenges, they played a key role in shaping the cultural and economic landscape of the frontier. Their work was not only practical but also symbolic of the shifting roles of women in a time when their contributions were often overlooked. It's a reminder that the story of the American frontier wasn't just shaped by the men on horseback, but also by the women who kept the wheels of progress turning from behind the scenes. The perseverance and determination of figures like Aunt Sally challenged traditional narratives of the Old West, highlighting the importance of their efforts in keeping settlements and cattle drives running efficiently. Even though history often focuses on cowboys and outlaws, it is essential to recognize the equally significant role of the women who laid the groundwork for success on the harsh and unforgiving frontier. Their stories, though less celebrated, are integral to understanding the true fabric of the American West. And there you have it, Sarah Aunt Sally Adams, a true trailblazer of the American West, whose strength and resilience helped fuel the cattle drives that shaped the frontier. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the life of an unsung hero, make sure to hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Leave us a comment below if you want to hear more about the unsung pioneers who made the American West what it is today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.